Hello, kia ora, g'day, I'm Philip Duncan from Weather Watch TV on YouTube with your Australia-only forecast for the next 10 days ahead. This is a longer update today, not on the length of the video because there's actually not too much happening each day. So I thought rather than going into great detail about each day, we just extend it a bit more and show you more of the week and a week and a half ahead because of the windy westerlies that are carrying on to the south. So as we kick off the satellite imagery today, thunderstorms around Western Australia spilling over into the Northern Territory, a few more showers or cloud to the north, and also that spilling over into some parts of Queensland. Otherwise dry. In fact, a lot of the detail you see here is the terrain, showing the valleys and the higher ridges and things. So we've got most of the energy in the southeast. That is clearing away into the Tasman Sea and towards New Zealand, and the next cold front approaching Western Australia. And there are a few things going on in the middle, so I'll try and break it down for you. Air pressure map shows temperatures. So where you see the red, that is where the hotter weather is dropping right down to the coastline and moving slowly into South Australia. So you've got on the left-hand side of the high, the heat, on the right-hand side of it, the cooler weather. So out east or the southeast, temperatures are down in Victoria, Tasmania, the A.C.T, and higher elevation in southeastern parts of New South Wales. Cooler this morning and again going into this evening. But the heat is up around Queensland, the Northern Territory, and pretty much all of Western Australia, except as that cold front comes in, and look at the low, way off down over the Southern Ocean, but the cold front coming right up, and so your temperatures are going to drop. Let's have a look at Saturday's forecast. You can see what I mean. There is the polar boundary right up north, but it's sort of sliding along. So it may not actually come in and over Western Australia, and so therefore you've got a bit of convergence between all the heat that is dropping down. The red tropical line right down basically to the coastline, and so everyone inside that red area to the north, as that tropical heat comes down, will feel it hotter. Over to the southeast, you'll feel the temperatures lifting up as those nor'westers push into South Australia, but then later, maybe not until nighttime and going into Sunday, that warmer airflow drops down into Tasmania, Victoria, and eventually into New South Wales and the A.C.T. Otherwise, high pressure is out east, keeping things mostly dry, and an easterly flow into the north here, and those thunderstorms still developing around mostly the Kimberley, but it could drop further southwards and affect some parts also of the Northern Territory. By Sunday, the cooler change, which is all coming around the big high, right? So the polar boundary drops down. It's not really coming northwards, it's sliding along sideways, but you've got a southerly wind coming through. So the temperatures are sort of down in the southwest corner. Just nearby, you got all the heat. And so between the two, you get a bit of convergence, low pressure in here. That can spark a line of showers and thunderstorms that are slow moving. So you have to keep an eye on the rain radar on the day and your local forecast to make more sense of it all. But you can see what I mean about the warmer winds now pushing in and across Victoria, the A.C.T, New South Wales. You know, these are warm conditions coming through, windy in some spots, especially around the Blue Mountains and other parts of the mountainous areas, the alpine areas of not only New South Wales, but also into Victoria, leaning to the east there. It could be a bit windy. Windy into Tassie again with the wet weather returning to the west coast. And right up into the tropics, apart from a few showers here in the far north, there isn't really a lot going on. And it stays like that into Monday. Still a couple of showers around into northern parts of Queensland, but it's not much. A few inland thunderstorms and also around the top end, a few thunderstorms. This is all low pressure around the top of Australia now, and that is helping to sink the tropical line down. But with high pressure out here, extending a ridge south of Australia, that is the squash zone in the middle, that's the convergence area. That's why the severe weather box is there for the risk of severe thunderstorms as we go into Monday. Starting to leave Western Australia, coming into South Australia. But if you're over in the more populated side, you've got a cooler wind driving in some showers as far north as Whyalla, but not a huge amount north of that. It stays mainly dry. And as you go into Victoria, also a few showers. Remember, this is a cooler southerly wind, so not as warm. And not too windy though either in Victoria, but still a bit windy around Tassie where the polar boundary comes back over you again, which means up in the plateaus, up on the higher elevation, a dusting of snow is possible. Dry for the most part into New South Wales, a couple of southern showers, pretty much, as I just said, around Queensland, pretty much dry. So let's have a look at the bigger picture here on Tuesday of next week. No high pressure parked over Australia. Well, there is over Norfolk Island, but not over the mainland. The next one out over the Indian Ocean. So this one over the Indian Ocean dredges up the colder wind, the polar boundary once more, coming close to places like Margaret River and Albany and everyone in between there. And then the southerly wind snakes its way up, further up the coastline to about Carnarvon. And then you've also got the tropical heat sitting up here in a bubble around the top half of Western Australia, all of the Northern Territory basically, and now starting to spill over into parts of Queensland. Just south of that, that line of thunderstorms and convergence spills over a wee bit into New South Wales. It's not a huge amount, but you could get a thunderstorm, could get a heavy downpour within that, and you drop down towards Tasmania where it is windy with northwesterlies. So into Wednesday of next week, another line of convergence stretches all the way from Canberra right through to the central inland parts of Western Australia. That's where we could see showers and thunderstorms as we go through Wednesday. It's a little too far out to lock in, but there is a risk of severe thunderstorms with a setup like that. All of the heat and humidity is up here to the north, spilling down into a large part of Queensland now. That could produce some thundery weather, some severe thunderstorms up into the far north of Queensland. And as you come southwards, windy nor'westers coming through, so warm to hot conditions. A wee bit of low pressure around New South Wales means you could see a few showers and thunderstorms as the day progresses. And then you drop to the southern area and the polar boundary again, very close to Kangaroo Island and Port Lincoln, very close to Mount Gambier, and obviously very close here to Hobart, Queenstown, other parts of Tasmania, which means same old spring weather really just continues on for you. Thursday of next week, still got that line of convergence. Like I say, this far out, things can still move around a wee bit, but you are seeing a fair bit of instability on the map here with low pressure around Queensland triggering more and more showers and thunderstorms. Similar story around New South Wales, more and more showers and thunderstorms, heaviest around the western side of the mountains and ranges, including the A.C.T. And then the polar boundary comes right into Bass Strait. So if you're in coastal parts of Victoria, you will feel the temperatures down. It is a westerly though, not a southerly. So it's going to be cool to cold. Tasmania is in the cold belt, windy westerlies. In fact, they could be damaging winds for a time a week from now. But in Western Australia, here comes the next big high. So 1 week from today, that high, a couple of them here drifting in to Western Australia and South Australia. But once more, the westerlies carry on, windy and cold for Tasmania with wintry conditions, heavy showers, thunderstorms, possibly some hail on the west coast, and some bigger rainfall totals, 40, 50 millimetres possible there. Now all around the Kimberley, all around the northern half or the northern 2/3 of the Northern Territory, and across most of Queensland, and now into the northeast half, or the northeast half, let's go with that, of New South Wales. These are all sort of convection showers that can pop up with thunderstorms, and as the day goes on things change. So it may not look like this map, but just as you can see, this is all instability in the top half of Australia and the northeast side of Australia, where we could be seeing showers and thunderstorms at the end of next week. And as we go into next weekend, that becomes more limited to the top half of Australia as things dry out further for New South Wales and the A.C.T. Pretty dry for Victoria. High pressure over South Australia keeps the westerlies alive for coastal parts of South Australia, Victoria and Tasmania with more of those showers. The polar boundary just over the top of Hobart, and around Western Australia, a southeasterly wind carries on, coming through around that next big high. So our final forecast map going right through till Sunday of next weekend. Don't 100% lock this in. All of this could move around a wee bit. So you kind of just look for, where are the highs? They're the biggest controlling feature. So there is no real high pressure over Australia. Got this one here over the Great Australian Bight, but the westerlies carry on in the south. The cooler winds carry on in the southwest of Western Australia, and the heat dominating more and more for the tropical part or even the northern half of Australia, seeing more heat, more humidity, more showers, more thunderstorms, all in the mix. So before I go, quick animation showing the rainfall coming up for the next 10 days. Most of it is here on the west coast of Tasmania, where you're talking over 150 millimetres falling for you. Not as much into Hobart, might be around 30 to 60 millimetres there. Some rainfall into Victoria, parts of the A.C.T and New South Wales. It's not very much, into that 15 to maybe 40 millimetre mark, and a bit of snow maybe falling at the tops there. Otherwise, showers and thunderstorms. That's what you're seeing everywhere else across Australia, which means it'll be a bit hit and miss, not 100% locked in. That's all from me. Thanks for joining me for the extended update today. Have a great weekend. I look forward to seeing you all again on Monday.